welcome to the Facebook Live from UWC International. And my apologies for starting a little bit late. We were facing some technical issues, but we will try to make the wait worthwhile. So thank you for your understanding. I'll kick us off for this event, and I'll just introduce myself. My name is Matthias Rosenberg. I work at UWC International as the head of school and college development. I have a very long-standing connection with UWC because I'm a graduate of Chun United World College in Hong Kong, which I applied for and attended from 1992 until 1994, so a very long time ago. I also spent a couple of years at Mahindra UWC in India as a teacher of history. After that, I became a volunteer on the German National Committee, and I had the privilege of interviewing and selecting some amazing applicants to UWC. I now work at UWC International in London, and I'm joined by a couple of colleagues of mine, and I'll turn to this one here on my left to introduce herself.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Luehrmann, and like Matthias, I have a connection to UWC, is that I'm an alum. I graduated this May, so I attended UWC Thailand from 2016 to 2018. And whilst I do not have such a long history with UWC, I have a big passion for UWC, and I'm currently interning here at the UWC International Office with the Communications and Engagement team. And I am very excited to be here to answer your questions from perhaps a more recently graduated point of view perspective. And yes, I'm looking forward to the next hour or so we're going to be spending together. And I'll turn you over to my colleague Izzat.
Thanks, Sarah. My name is Izzat Shamroukh. I work at UWC International as the Global Selection and Program Officer. I went to UWC Atlantic College. I thought that I have attended UWC a long time ago. But no, it was in 2006, 2008. Best 2 years of my life. I had a great time that changed my life, and I hope that this session today will help to change your life too and help you to make that decision of applying to UWC. I'll be more answering questions regarding the global selection program, but hopefully also from an alumni point of view as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we are here. We're really keen to answer any questions that you might have regarding the application for UWC, and I think we can offer some different perspectives and different sort of age ranges for this discussion. So I think it might be time to kick us off with a question. We have a question here that was sent in earlier from Soraya, who asks, please explain the timeline for the application process for UWC. And she asks what the major time, the dates and milestones might be. So shall I suggest that maybe Sarah explains that, because you applied to UWC most recently. Yeah. So tell us how it worked for you.
All right. So before I start, this process will be different in each national committee or each application route that you choose. I can speak a little bit about generally and about the German National Committee, and then perhaps Izzat can talk a bit about the global selection process. Mm-hmm. So generally, we can look at the website in a minute as well. There's a lot of information offered on the steps, but generally each application will start with a written application that will give you the chance to discuss some of your interests and present who you are as a person and your passions and your motivation for UWC. And then if you're successful with this stage, you will be most likely invited to an in-person interview or weekend where you will get to know some of the other applicants, get to spend some time together in a mini UWC environment, and get the chance to interview with the selectors, which are mostly alumni or very experienced National Committee selectors. And it will also give them the chance to get to know you in a more personal environment. And most likely then the next step would be that you will be nominated for one of the schools and colleges. Perhaps if you have some information to add to that, that would be great.
Okay, in the global selection program, it's a little bit different from here. So we have 2 rounds of applications throughout the year. One will be around November, and one will be around January, February for the for September, the upcoming. It's also starts with an online application form that will have um, questions, different questions, 11 questions. Some are about activities and involvement in the social and surroundings. There will also be some recommendations, one academic, one non-academic. Um, there will also be some to supply the school reports from previous year and current year. And if successful within the first round of online application, then you get invited into the second stage, and that we hope to do within 2 weeks of submitting the application form. You can really choose which selection weekend that you can attend and will be able to attend, provided that we have the space in that selection weekend. We have this. It's a new program. The global selection program is just this year is the first year. So it's an application route for applicants who would like to apply early. So between say 9 to 12 months. Also for applicants who are applying to a specific UWC or a couple, or so they know which UWC that they would like to go, and also they opt out of financial means testing, which I'm sure we will go into at some point.
It's time to say hello to a few people. So we've had some hellos and hi's from Afak Ahmed. Hello, Ahmed. Afak. We had hello from Rosie Wauk. Hello. And Rubaya Rasul Baba. Hello to all three of you. It's great to have you on this live streaming. I should probably also say that we are recording this. So if at any stage you miss anything of what we've said, make sure you check back to the recording. And that will also be a place. We'll be running another live streaming event tomorrow morning, London time, where we will also have an opportunity to answer any questions that we might not answer in the next few in the next hour or so. But just to recap on the application process, on the major milestones. If you're applying through the National Committee system, there will be a deadline for submitting the first stage application form, which is usually online. So it's very important to meet that deadline. If you're applying through the Global Selection Program, there are no deadlines as such. But the earlier you submit your application, the earlier we'll be able to let you know whether you're invited for one of the selection weekends, which is kind of important because you may need to travel to the selection weekends. There's selection weekends coming up in January. So the last weekend of January, we will have selection days in London in the UK. The first weekend of February, so the 2nd and 3rd of February, the selection days will be in Toronto in Canada. And then on the 9th and 10th of February, the selection days will be in Bangkok. So those are some dates for your diary if you're applying through the Global Selection Program. Maybe one more point on the application process from a National Committee point of view. The deadlines and the timelines vary across the different national committees. So in a moment, we will call up the web page that allows you to find the national committees. And if you then go to that web page and look up the national committee for your country of residence or your country of nationality, that will enable you to find websites for the national committees and also contact details. So we're just scrolling through that. You can see on the left-hand side UWC Afghanistan, and on the right-hand side you can see a drop-down menu with all our different national committees. We have 156 national committees currently active. Some of them, or a lot of them, have a website. All of them can be contacted via email. So do please have a look at where at this page to find out how you can make contact with national committees.
There was a cool question that was just posted up by Susanna, and she's asking, what should I pack for?
Pack to UWC.
Do you have some tips
Yeah.
what to pack to UWC?
That's a really good question.
That's a great question. Should we have a round of answers?
Yes.
Do you want to go first?
Okay, sure. So I think most of your second years, once you get accepted, so the people in the batch above you will give you a list of what to pack. But some of the more peculiar things that I didn't think to pack is definitely bring a national costume. You will need it for multicultural shows and cultural evenings. And I never thought that I would wear a dirndl, which is the German national dress, so often. I've never worn it before UWC, and I don't think I probably will afterwards, but in UWC I wore it quite a lot. And then I would say bring a water bottle, because there will be water fountains, but probably not glasses to drink from. So, and depending on where you go, bring bring a lot of socks. That's the thing that I was missing. So, because it can get quite cold in the residences, I think you don't want to walk around barefoot and get sick. So those are my 3 things that I wish I had packed.
Cool. And you?
Again, it depends where you're going. You went to Thailand, which is beautiful and sunny. If you're going to UWC Atlantic College, definitely take a jacket, a good jacket that you will need. National costume for sure. I have as much things that you can represent from your country. That would be a beautiful thing that would definitely be used a couple of different times. I would take a toothbrush. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's what comes to mind.
Yeah.
What would you take, Matthias?
Good stuff. Before I answer that, I just want to say hello to Adam and to Kio and also to Susanna. Thank you for the question. We are also joined by Mata and Mohammed and by Marcel, and a few others. So welcome to all of you. It's great to have you on this live event. The question was just now, what would you pack for UWC? I would agree with Sarah actually and say bring a water bottle for a very simple reason. UWCs find sustainability very important. So we don't particularly like the overuse of plastic, for example. So one of our campuses in Germany, UWC Robert Bosch, for example, has banned plastic or uses very, very little plastic across the campus and encourages everybody to use a water bottle. So it's a very good suggestion. You should also pack all of the enthusiasm and energy that you can possibly pack, because the 2 years are a very rich time where you need a lot of energy and enthusiasm. Okay, let's go to Adam Kaplan's question, who says, I want to apply to UWC, but I feel like I didn't do enough in my past. Does that have something to do with the choice? So does that have an impact, I suppose, on your application? Any answers from Izzat or Sarah?
I'd say you will need to look at the things that you have been doing. I'm sure some sort of activities or focus on things that you are doing rather than the things that you haven't been doing, and things that actually fit within the UWC values and selection criteria.
Anything from you?
I think a lot of people feel insecure when they're applying, that they haven't done enough, but I really would urge you to think more about it's really quality over quantity. You don't have to have done 1,000 things. If you've done 1 or 2 and you're really passionate about them and you think that they fit great into the values that UWC represents or the mission that we're fighting for, then I think that's already a good start. And so that's what I would say about this.
And I'd probably add 2 things. One is that You don't have to necessarily be a fantastic change maker in your wider community already. Think about how you contribute to your own family or to your own neighborhood, maybe in informal ways as well. Yeah, so you may well be playing a really important part in your family, in your neighborhood already, and those are really relevant for your application. What's important, I think, is to show that you have a depth of commitment. Yeah, so it's important that whoever reads your application form gets a sense that they are reading about you and that they're getting to know you as a person through the activities that you might be doing within your family, which are all really relevant to a UWC education. Sarah, do you want to take the next question?
So how about we go with Mohammed's question, what is the criteria for selection of application? Our GSP selection officer, maybe you have one or two things to say to that.
Very good question. Okay, so we have also this information explained in detail on our website and going through the 5 core selection criteria one by one. So mainly we have, and this selection criteria is used across all national committees and the global selection program. So from intellectual curiosity and motivation, active commitment, social competence, resilience, personal responsibility and integrity, and motivation for UWC. This is the basis for the selection throughout both routes of applications to the UWC movement.
And those criteria are important throughout the whole application process. So when you fill in your application form, those are some of the things that we look at. And then also during the face-to-face selection events or camps in some countries, we are inspired by those 5 core selection criteria, which, as Izzat said, are on our website, which we showed just now. So it's those 5 that are important for the selection. Okay.
Should we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. What's the next question all about?
So we have a great question from Afaq, and he asks for some tips for interviews. And having very recently gone through the selection process, I remember being very nervous going in, obviously, but the one tip that I would give you is to just be authentic, because in the end you're in a situation where you just want to show why you're passionate for UWC and why you would be a good fit, and you can only do that if you stay true to yourself. We're not looking for, there's no magical formula for UWC applicant. You don't have to be someone you're not. Just show your interviewers who you are, and hopefully that'll be enough. Yeah. Anything to add as a selector?
And one of the comments I was telling to the applicants who were making it through the first round of selections, that the fact that you got to the interview stage is already meaning that you're amazing. So be yourself, don't try to be something else. And apart from these kind of comments, I'd say try to sleep well before the interview, look your best, try and be comfortable in that day.
So I think being yourself, being as relaxed as you possibly can be is important, because you will just come across better during the interview. I would probably add, don't be taken aback if there are questions which might sound a little bit strange. You know, if somebody asks you something that doesn't really seem to relate to UWC, just take the question as it comes. And be yourself and make the best of the question.
All right.
We have a question from Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Can you name the biggest advantage of going to UWC? I would suggest that we answer that from our own personal perspectives as alums. Do you want to start?
Yes. Going to UWC Atlantic College, I think one of the best advantages was to get a good quality of education. I thought the teachers that I was being taught by are very inspiring. to say the least. On the second hand, I got to meet people from all around the world who are smart, amazing, already doing wonderful things, and learn so much about countries and cultures that I've never heard about before. And that goes on pretty much everything from sharing the room with other students, to sharing a class, to sharing projects and different things. And now as an alumni, obviously it has simply changed my life.
Yeah. How about you, Sarah?
I think I can only resonate what Izzat just said. I think UWC changed my life completely in ways that I didn't think was even possible. I feel like UWC in so many ways is a family that you are taken into, and it's just this welcoming force of people that have the same values and have the same ideals, and it's just been living together, like Izzat said, with so many people, intelligent, passionate, bright people, was a privilege, and it taught me so much more, because we weren't just learning together, we were learning from each other in so many ways. And I think that's really what makes UWC so unique, because it transforms you as a person. It shows you perspectives that you've never seen before, and yeah, I just love my UWC experience.
Yeah. And I would probably add that the learning and the challenge to your perspective happens not just in the classroom,
Yes.
but it happens every day, all day,
Yeah.
because you are living together with some amazing people who can be really challenging, yeah, but they help you challenge your own values, your own perceptions, and that really, and in my own experience, it opens your mind towards the future and towards the world, and it gives you a different quality of engagement with the world, really.
Yeah. Great. Should we take the next question?
Yeah.
From Mata. Hi, Mata. She's asking, what if my grades are not that good? That would be a problem for my application?
My grades weren't all that great.
My grades weren't either. I think we do look at grades in assessing the application. However, please look at it as a small part of the whole selection. There's a lot more than just that. We don't really look for students who are just with high grades, but there's a lot of other things that you are involved in the community or doing other amazing stuff that you can focus on as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys like?
Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think you said it really well. Your grades aren't going to define you, and whilst it is a part of your learning, UWC is much more than just academics, and I think the national committees and the global selection process really takes that into account.
That's correct. I mean, it is just to give you my opinion on this. It is important that you can deal with the academic rigor of the International Baccalaureate Diploma. It's a challenging program, so students applying to UWC need to have a certain level of academic ability, simply so that the IB doesn't become too all-consuming, because there's a lot of other stuff going on as well. So your creativity, action and service component, and all the other amazing things that happen at a UWC. So if you're in a position where the academic component of UWC just takes up all of your time and all of your energy, it will take away from your ability to contribute to the school community and to really get the most out of those 2 years at UWC. There's a related question, I think. The question is from Afak. Will there be a problem if my English is weak? The answer to that is not necessarily. The program is conducted in English, so you need to have a certain level of English. But UWC is not just for English native speakers. None of the three of us are English native speakers, but you do need to have a level of English that enables you to at least follow what goes on in the classroom. The schools also have in place some additional support for those students who have who have that need and who have a need for a little bit of support with their English. Yeah, we wouldn't advise people who speak no English at all to expect that they can thrive at UWC. But there is support available if your English is maybe a little bit, if the level of your English is a little bit less than everybody else.
I'd just add a very quick thing. Add to that out of the 5 selection criteria, English is not one. So you will not be scored for your English language ability.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to take the next question?
Sure. So we have a question from Aura. Hello. Well, and she asks, what kind of questions or tasks do you get at the selection weekend, and how can I prepare myself? So I think the answer to that is, I don't think you can prepare yourself, and I don't think you should. I think there will be tasks and questions that you might not expect, but that's the beauty of it. I don't think, from my personal experience, it's not a straightforward process necessarily. It's not what you would expect maybe at an interview for any other schools. I think it goes much deeper than that. And I think just let it happen and enjoy the day or the weekend, and there's no need to prepare yourself for it.
It's also quite difficult, I think, to answer this question in general, because different national committees take a different approach to how they conduct the selections in the country. I think generally speaking, it's safe to say that there will be a mix of one-to-one interview with some group-based activities. So that could be discussions, it could be games, group games, and so it will be a mix. I would definitely agree with Sarah. If you try to prepare too much, you might actually be a little bit too tense. Yes. So go with it, see what happens, and be yourself during the selection day.
Okay, let's go for the next one. Afak is asking very good questions today. This is the third question we take from Afak. How will you face difficulties at UWC? That is a very good question. So while UWC is a wonderful, wonderful experience, it also comes with a challenging time. It's like my colleague said, Matthias, earlier, life happens at UWC. And this is an important time when teenagers are changing in body and mind, and you're far away from your family and your comfortable environment. So it is challenging, but remember that everybody else is going through the same kind of experience, and there's all the support that you need from counselors, from house parents, from the other students who are available there to listen and be supportive.
What was the challenge that you have in mind most when you think back to your experience?
I think there were different challenges throughout different times, but I think one of the challenges I faced in my first few months at UWC is that I think me as a person, I'm quite an introvert, and for me in the beginning it was difficult to cope with having 3 roommates and being constantly immersed in this amazing environment. There's always things happening, there's always cultural evenings or game board nights or people are discussing, and it's a lovely experience, but sometimes I was feeling like it was all too much. But finding ways to cope with that and finding ways to talk to my peers, talk to my counselors really helped me through that experience, and it made me learn a lot about myself and about just well-being in general, and I think it was a very good experience in the end.
So it teaches you how to deal with your challenge on your own, how to seek help, maybe work with peers, with staff that are available to get through that. Yeah, I mean, if I think back, the sun doesn't always shine at UWC. That's true to say. Yeah, it's there are difficult days. certainly not in Wales. That's true. Much more so in Thailand, actually. Yeah. But there are always challenges. Yeah. So there are good days, there are not so good days, and there are amazing days. But there's always help available. I should say, if we didn't pick up your question over the past few minutes, you can always contact us on an email address that we will display later on during the session, and we will pick up your question from there. Maybe just as a reminder, this is Facebook Live from UWC International. My name is Matthias Rosenberg. I'm joined by
Luehrmann
and Izzat Shamroukh.
And we're here to answer your questions about applications to UWC. So pop the question in the comments field, and we will try and answer it if we manage to. So I'll take the next question from Chun. Hi, Chun. Are there any students from Vietnam at UWC, and what does UWC want the most from their students? We have a national committee in Vietnam, so students from Vietnam can apply to UWC, and we've had students from UWC before for a number of years. In terms of what UWCs expect from students, that's a really good question. I'll start out with my thoughts. I think UWC expects a willingness to contribute to the school community and to the vision of UWC while you are at the school and later on in life. So one of our very important points in our mission is that we create change makers, I suppose. So people who promote the values of UWC while they are at school and afterwards. Is there anything else you want to say about what UWC expects of its students, Sarah and Izzat?
Very briefly, so that we can take more questions, is just what can you contribute as well to the community that you're going to fit in with? As much as what you will get from that experience, it is important that you also contribute from your different background that you're coming from, whatever that you feel like you can contribute, please make that seen in the application form.
Yeah.
I agree with the both of you.
You agree, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I guess UWC expects their students to take ownership of their actions. I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
You take responsibility for what they're doing and to see kind of a bigger picture, not just themselves and their community, but what can we do as a global movement.
Yeah.
So I think that's another point.
Yeah. Great, let's go on to the next question. Cecilia asks, hi Cecilia, could you describe a typical day at UWC? Shall we try?
Let's try.
Okay, who wants to start?
I'll try to remember what a typical day was. We will start with the different subjects that we have, and then a break for lunch and some activities, and then another set of subjects right after lunchtime, and then from lunch onwards was time for the services that we were in, activities, and I had 2 services and 3 activities that I will be on at different times of the week. I think that was...
What services did you participate in?
Services. I did the social service, which was incredible. It was integrating with the community in Wales, meeting. One was with kids. I like to play and have some learning kind of games. And the second one was with the elderly, and it was kind of just hang out, have a cup of tea, and talk about life and where you come from and where they come from and all. It helped me a lot with my English. So
I can imagine. Did you develop a Welsh accent?
No, it was difficult, but I got by.
Okay.
And what services did you do, Sarah?
I did quite a lot. I liked my services. I think the biggest one that I was involved in was a service called MANTA, Marine and Nature Animal Association, and we basically did mangrove restoration and coral conservation, and I could speak hours about that, but that's basically the broadest thing. I spent a lot of time doing that, and we're currently building our one of Asia's first coral nurseries. So we're restoring coral reefs in Phuket. So that's something that I spent almost 2 years on building up.
Yeah.
So that was one of the biggest ones.
And what did you learn from your service? That's maybe a question for both of you.
Do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah.
Apart from English.
Apart from English, I think it was part of the social service was to go to a community center which brings back people with mental illness back into the community, integrate them. And it was just incredible to learn how privileged we are to just be who we are, really.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. And Sarah.
I think I learned a lot of things, but I think one of the biggest ones was just being perseverant, like working as a team. And in the beginning, we didn't have anything, and it was kind of a group of a few students, and we faced a lot of challenges in building our projects, but sticking through it and not seeing mistakes and failures not as a negative thing, but seeing it as a building block for change. I think that was something that I really took from that.
Yeah.
What about you, Matthias?
What about me? So my service, I really tried to. Yes, I do remember. I did a service actually for 2 years where I partnered with a student at a school for disabled children. Umar was his name, and he was 6 or 7, and I was his assistant. So I helped him participate in class activities, and so I spent an afternoon every week with Umar at his school. It actually helped me to learn 2 of the things that you both mentioned. One is just appreciating my own position and who I was, because I had an opportunity to interact with somebody who was somewhat less fortunate than me, and it also helped me to tackle difficulties. Working with Umar wasn't always easy, but what I learned from that is that with perseverance and with kindness and with passion, you get there in the end. So it was a very important lesson. Let's go to another question. Sophie, hi Sophie. Sophie asks, is there any merit-based scholarships available or only financial aid? I can maybe cover that off. So the way this is when you're applying through the national committee system. A scholarship may be available if you are selected. It's important to note that the allocation of financial aid to students happens separately from the selection. So we select based on merit and based on promise and potential of the candidate. And then as a second step, once the candidate has been identified as suitable for UWC, we then see what amount, if any, the candidate can contribute towards their UWC education. That is done through a financial assessment, which is administered by the National Committee. And that financial assessment tells us to what extent or how much the family of the applicant can contribute to the UWC education. We find it very important that we select according to promise and potential, but we also want to be sure that the scholarship funding that's available is used as effectively and as fairly as possible. So we will seek to get a contribution from the family if the family can contribute. And that contribution is determined based on a set financial needs assessment. Because if a family is able to contribute a little bit more, we can use the money that is left over for another applicant whose need might be a little bit higher. So it's based on fairness and also on solidarity. Just a quick word about the global selection process. The global selection process is for candidates who want to opt out of needs assessment. because they are able to cover the full fee, the full cost of the UWC education. So for Global Selection Program applicants, there's no needs assessment, but there's also no scholarship available. So Global Selection Program applicants and their families agree that they will cover the fee that's payable for the UWC education that they're applying for. Right.
Another question.
Yeah.
From Ahmed. What is the selection weekend, please? The selection weekend. The selection weekend is different between different national committees. I can give you from the global selection program. From the global selection program type, we run a one-day selection. And in that selection, you will go through different activities throughout the day. And then in the afternoon, you will have two types of interviews. The first interview will be more of a classical question and answer interview, and it's more to know about you and get to know you better. And the second interview will be to present a pre-prepared project, which is the Better World project that you prepare and you present for about 5 minutes, and then the panel will ask you questions about that project. Panel will be of two experienced selectors. It is also, the selection is designed to give you a UWC experience in a one day. The experience we've had from this round, at least, people were really enjoying the day, having a great time, meeting people, like-minded people from all around the world, and genuinely just enjoying the day.
I think generally speaking, the national committees also have something like a selection weekend. It might be one day, it might be several days. The important thing about the selection weekends is that we get to know the applicant personally, face to face, and we get to interact with them. I should mention that if you are finding this session really useful and like it, and if you know other people who might find it useful, please make sure that you like us and you share us, because we want as many people as possible to know about UWC and the opportunities that it provides. We have a question from Masti. Hi, Masti. Is the interview in English or in the mother tongue? Both. Okay, so it really depends. Some national committees will conduct their selection activities in the mother tongue. The Global Selection Program is in English only. We don't conduct the Global Selection Program in any other languages. But for national committee selection processes, the best thing is to check with the national committee in your country of residence or your country of citizenship to find out how they manage, in what language the selection process is run. Okay.
You can take the next question if you like.
So we have a question from Michelle. Is it an advantage or a disadvantage to join a political party before applying to UWC? That's a very interesting question.
Really interesting, yeah. I would say you don't need to join a political party in order to be successful in applying to UWC. Yeah? However, activity in a political party, excuse me, activity in a political party or in campaigning organizations may provide you with some material to use in your UWC application, right? So if you can use examples from your activity in a party, in a youth club, in an amnesty group, in an environmental group, those activities will supply you with some great examples to use in your application. But you don't have to join a political party in order to apply to UWC.
I think it's also important to add that, of course, it will give you a lot of things to talk about, but only do it if you're actually interested in it.
Yes.
Don't do it because it will give you something to talk about. Because, again, coming back to authenticity, be who you are and not who you think the selection panel wants you to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Next
Great.
question.
Yeah.
From Eunice. Hi, Eunice. Do I need to join a social organization to be accepted in UWC? I think that was the same kind of question
yeah,
as before.
I think so.
Yeah.
And from Somar, what does a scholarship cover? That's a very good question.
I can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have, it's a somewhat complicated answer. So scholarships come in at different levels. With some scholarships, we will expect the family to cover things like airfare and visa fees if the visa is necessary. And with other types of scholarships, that might be included. So this will be a case-by-case decision, because what we want to make sure is that we get a wide variety of diversity across our schools, and that means that for applicants from some backgrounds, we need to provide a higher level of scholarship. But it's quite difficult to answer this question in a general sense. So we have a question from Lutfi. Hi, I'm not sure that my family have enough money to pay the yearly fee, except if the school funds it to 100%. Is it possible to be accepted in school that didn't offer any funded portion, while I'm not sure that I can pay the fee? Okay, if you are applying through a national committee, I spoke earlier about the financial needs assessment. So that national committee would take you through an assessment of your family's ability to contribute to the cost of your education. So that should enable you to still do a UWC education, even though you are not able to pay the full fee. So it's all down to the national committee's financial needs assessment. And then another question from our favorite friend.
Afak.
Hi.
Will UWC give pocket money? I think that reflects back to the answer that Matthias was giving it now. I think for my scholarship, for example, I received the full scholarship 100%, and that included the pocket money and even the airfare to go back home during the summer and the breaks. But it's different across the funding that students can get.
There's Faisal here. Hi, Faisal. The question is, what time does Somalia get these scholarships? What I will say is, if you want to find out the timelines for applications in your country of residence or citizenship, you should head to our website, which is currently displayed down below. So uwc.org.uk/national committees. On that site, you will be able to find contact details for your national committee, and you should then get in touch with them to ask about the details of the application process.
We have another question from Denise. She's asking about her 14-year-old daughter, saying that she's interested in joining next year, but they're Brazilian and live in Turkey, and if they can apply from here still.
Okay.
What is meant with here, do you think?
I'm assuming that here means Turkey.
Oh, okay.
So Brazilian family living in Turkey. So there are two questions in this question. One is about age. So Denise's daughter is 14 at the moment. It's important to remember that you need to be, in most cases, you need to be 16 when you enter UWC. Okay, so a 14-year-old at the moment would not be able to enter UWC next September. There's a small number of exceptions, But by and large, you need to be 16 on the first day of school. And the second question in that question is applying as a Brazilian family from Turkey. I would encourage you to check with the Brazilian National Committee about whether you can apply through the Brazilian National Committee even though you live in Turkey. Different national committees have different eligibility criteria. Sometimes you need to be resident in the country where you're applying, but not necessarily. You have the choice, if you are able to opt out of means testing, you have the choice to apply through the global selection program as well. And then we have a question from Gabrielle. Is it an advantage or not to have traveled before for a UWC application? Who wants to take that one? How much did you travel before you applied?
Not much. I did a little bit of traveling, obviously, but I wouldn't have called myself a traveler before going to UWC, and I don't think it matters at all. It's not the experiences that you've had through traveling necessarily, but the curiosity you have for different cultures and for different traditions, and just having a certain openness to your perspectives and the way you perceive things. And sometimes it comes to traveling naturally, but I think you can have those things without having travel experience before. So whilst I'm sure it is nice to have traveled before, it is not a requirement, I would say. What about you guys? Have you traveled a lot before going to UWC?
I haven't traveled at all before I went to UWC. But again, I think you've answered that in the correct way. That is your curiosity and how you view the world. And what have you learned while you're traveling that would add value to the application rather than just traveling?
Yeah, but you can show those. You can show that even without having traveled. Yeah. There's another question here from Tala. Hi, Tala. Tala is asking, do we get to pick which college we want to go to? There are two answers to this question. If you apply through your national committee, you're applying to UWC in general, and it will be a matter for the national committee, if you are successful, to decide which of the schools or colleges you get nominated to. If you're applying to the global selection program, you can specify which school you want to go to. We encourage global selection program applicants to apply to more than one school. So the average candidate in that program applies to 3 schools, and we really encourage people to apply to not just one school. So that's your answer to that question, Tala.
I'd like to add something to that.
Yeah, please.
Because before I applied to UWC, I was very confused, like, how is it going to work? What if I end up at a school that I don't want to go to? And I'd just like to say that I never thought that I would end up going to Thailand, and it wasn't on my preference at all. I didn't even know that the school existed. And I am so glad that my national committee sent me where I went, because I ended up loving Thailand, and it was a wonderful fit for my interests. And so just being open to the possibilities of going to a school that you may not have thought of before is really great.
And you mentioned preference, actually. Yes. By and large, I think national committees allow candidates to say which school or schools they want to go to most. But we don't guarantee that you will get to go to a specific school. A question from Pritika. Hi, Pritika. How do you balance academics and social life at UWC? Who wants to take that one?
Question.
That's a good question.
I think that was also one of the challenges at UWC, because there was a lot of interesting stuff that I would like to be involved in, but there's only so much you can do in one day. I learned throughout to focus on the things that I really liked and really enjoy, between doing academics and my homework, but also getting involved in the different services and activities I wanted. At the beginning, I jumped on everything, and I had all services and all activities, and even created my own one that I would like to run. But at some point, I think I just learned which ones that I really would like to continue and prioritize.
Yeah.
What was your experience?
I think it is a really good question. And I would agree with you. I think in the beginning, that's part of the learning process that UWC offers you. Getting to learn about time management and setting your priorities in a way that balances out what you can do for your community and what you can do for your own well-being and for your own development as a person, as a UWC student. So yeah, very good question.
Yeah, great question. Just a reminder, this is Facebook Live from UWC International. I'm joined here by Sarah and by Izzat. My name is Matthias. We are answering questions about UWC applications. You're all very welcome. If you like what we're doing, please share and like this feed. And also a reminder, we're running another Facebook Live session tomorrow. That's going to be at 9 o'clock GMT. So tomorrow, Tuesday, the 11th of December, 9 o'clock GMT for the next applications Facebook Live event. Heidi, hello Heidi. Heidi has a question here. If I don't get to a UWC school or college, do I have any other options? Great question. Do you want to answer it? Should I answer it?
I can go ahead. If you don't get accepted into UWC, there is always the opportunity to join a UWC short course, which is a beautiful experience to join and to get the UWC experience in a short period of time, I guess. So some run for a week, some for longer, and those will run in different parts of the world. I think there is the page that you can see now where the short courses will be ran for this next summer, and we have how many, Matthias?
So we are aiming next summer to run 30 short courses across the world. This calendar year there's one more in Swaziland, or Eswatini as it's now called, and that's the one that's called Together for Development in Eswatini. And the program for next sort of July, August and June sometimes as well will actually be going up onto our website over the next few weeks. So if you're interested in UWC short courses, keep an eye on the page that we are showing you now. The short courses have a fee for participation, but the short courses also tend to provide some scholarship support to participants. And short courses cover a fantastic range of topics which are very relevant to our mission, and they're a great thing to do in the middle of the year if you are interested in exploring UWC.
Absolutely. You can also still apply if you still meet the age criteria in the following year. So if you've applied, let's say 16, you can still apply up until 17 and 18 years of old to enter. So that could be also an option.
Okay. So Gatine, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Hello, welcome. And thank you for your comment about the short course that you participated in the summer. Your question is how old you need to be a facilitator at a UWC short course. I'm going to suggest that we publish the answer to that one separately. So please let us know on the email address, and we'll get back to you on that one. The answer will vary by short courses. So yeah, so get back to us, please. Right.
I saw a good question from Anna about how many students share a room, and I think very good question. That differs from school to school.
Yeah.
At almost all schools and colleges, you will share a room with at least one more person, but we do have one exception, which is the school Waterford, where students do not have to share rooms, but at all the other schools, generally, it is common that you do share rooms. And from my own experience, maybe we can share all a bit about it later. I love having roommates. In my first year, we switched around quite a lot, but in my first year I shared with 2 people, and then in my second year I shared with 3 people. and having roommates was one of the most amazing experiences that I had at UWC, just because the thing that you mentioned earlier, this learning outside of the classroom, was really enhanced there, because you were living from people with different cultures that maybe had completely different ideas of what it means to live together, and working through the challenges of that together really taught me a lot about conflict resolution and just being tolerant and open to other people's ways of living. And you just make friends for life. It feels like a class trip for 2 years.
Yes.
Where were they from? Do you remember?
Of course, those are one of my
Of
best
course.
friends. So my second year, they were from Pakistan, Germany, and Italy, and they're just some of my closest friends. And
Great. Matthias?
I had a roommate in my first year from Chile, a roommate from Malaysia, and a roommate from Hong Kong. In my second year, I had a roommate from Venezuela and 2 roommates from Hong Kong.
nice.
And I would echo what Sarah was just saying, that sharing a room is, I found it daunting initially. I thought, oh, I was
Yeah,
used to
me
having
too.
my own room at home. But actually, the benefits you get from sharing with your peers they're fantastic. So negotiating a way to live together, conflict resolution, learning from each other, those are skills that really are supported by sharing rooms at UWC. You?
Great. Mine were from Tanzania, Argentina, and Liverpool. And then the second year was because there was only one second year. It was from Liverpool, and then it was replaced by another from England the year after that. And it was likewise. It was an amazing experience. That we're family, and we still communicate until now and see each other every once in a while.
Great.
I should add to that, I didn't just have 3. I didn't know we were sharing all of them, so I did have more than 3 roommates in total, because you guys were like counting them all up. It did change. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it changes from year to. So you have roommates for a year, and then in the second year you have another
Actually,
set
we in
of
Thailand
roommates.
we changed twice in the first year.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, we did. And in the beginning I found it daunting as well. So I was like, I love my roommates. I don't want to change after a term. But I ended up loving it because you meet new people.
Yeah.
It really switches it around. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for that question. It's made us all nostalgic, I think.
Yeah.
So that's great. We have a question here from Rohini. Does each UWC school have a quota for how many students they take from each geographical region or country? So what we do at UWC is we create learning communities that are diverse. Okay, and there's 2 main ways in which we do this. One is we put together we put together a school community that comes from many different countries. So by passport, our students are diverse, and the average UWC has students from more than 80 countries. So it is a really diverse community. But we also try to create a community that is diverse in terms of socioeconomic background. Yeah, so we have a range of students who attend UWC. So we have students from a refugee background all the way through the socioeconomic spectrum to more affluent parts of the population. So each school creates a diverse community by passport and by socioeconomic background. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think it's you covered that question pretty well.
Good.
Shall we have 2 more questions?
Yeah, let's have 2 more questions.
And then shall we take this one from Afaq again? Hi, Afaq. After interview, what will be the next step? Good. Depending on the national committee that you're applying through, or if you're applying via the global selection program, check with the national committee. They will let you know the timeline. It varies between all the national committees. Via the global selection program, we try to get back to applicants within 1 to 2 weeks of the selection date. I think that's covering that.
Yeah.
Should we have Any more
There was
questions
one,
over here?
maybe I'll bring in one of the questions that were submitted in advance, which were about the IB. The question was, how is the IB different from A-levels, or how is it different from other programs? And do universities value the IB? Do you want to answer it, or Izzat? Or?
I think Sarah has a good approach to that. We had a discussion earlier.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
please.
So I think the biggest difference with the IB is, apart from the academics, which are a lot broader than the A levels, because you cover, you take 6 subjects in total, which all come from a different area. So rather the A levels, you only take 3 subjects, so that in itself makes it a bit, you get a lot more exposure to different subjects. But then also beyond that, you do a lot of learning in terms of non-traditional approaches, maybe perhaps you could put it. For example, you write an extended essay, which is a 4,000 word research piece that you can put together on an academic interest that you have, and you have certain CAS, which stands for creativity, activity, and service requirements that you fill, and you will also take part in a class called Theory of Knowledge, so really going in depth about what it means to know things and how we know things. So really, it's a lot broader than the A levels, I would say. And maybe someone can say something about how it's valued by universities.
Yeah, sure. I can answer that. The International Baccalaureate is now run by I think around 4,000 schools across the world, and the program is very well known at universities across the world, including universities in the US and in the UK and in Canada. So the IB isn't a strange thing to these universities. So it is well accepted, and universities value it quite highly. One of the reasons is that it is such a broad program. So if I compare it to A-levels, the IB requires you to study a range of subjects until the end of your school. And that seems to be quite appreciated by the universities, because it gives you a breadth of academic knowledge, which is a good thing to have. So this is the last question. Very exciting. But just a reminder, we will be back at 9 a.m. GMT tomorrow, Tuesday, the 11th of December. And if we didn't get to your question, please contact us on an email address that will be displayed on the screen in just a moment. So, Pritika, you have the last question. What's UWC's commitment to outdoor activities and or experiential learning? How do they do this? Who wants to answer this question?
Ooh, there's a lot of outdoor activities that we can do at UWC. From my own experience at UWC Atlantic College, there was at least we had the lifeboat service by then. We had the lifeguard service. We had the Kavra, which is what does Kavra stand for? It's like the mountain kind of
rescue.
Yeah. Mountain rescue, I think it's recalled now. So that's 3 out of 7 activities that was outdoors. Also the activities, there was an endless number of activities, and even if the activities that you are interested in are not there, you can start it, and then other students can register in this activity. So I had created my own activity. Apart from being involved in Amnesty and different activities, I created my own Palestinian traditional dance, and I just started dancing and teaching the Palestinian traditional dance. So I think it's varied, and it's up to you to create your own if you would like to.
Yeah.
How was your experience as well?
At University of Thailand, we had a lot of outdoor learning and outdoor experience. Pri is actually my first year from Malaysia, so she will know all about this. But we did a lot of kayaking and a lot of hiking in the rainforest. So I think it depends on the location of the school, but I think all of them have a commitment to sustainability and nature, connecting students to nature. And like Izzat said, it is, if there's something missing from the experiential learning that you would like to see, take initiative and do it. It's very much encouraged.
Yeah. That's definitely true. I had the privilege of visiting one of our schools earlier this year, and I was very impressed by their approach to outdoor education, because they didn't assume that people who wanted to do outdoor activities already knew how to. Yeah, so they didn't say, oh, in order to be in the walking group, you have to have walked before or hiked before. What they did instead was to say, if you're not if you haven't experienced hiking or trekking before, no problem. We will take you by the hand and we will go for a 2-hour hike to start with. Ease you in slowly, and then we will build, and you will use the skills that you've learned and the fitness that you've built for more and more challenging activities. So that's the learning bit of outdoor education for me, because it becomes about how do I improve my skills, my fitness level. And that's what enables UWC students to bring together some of the stuff that they learn in the classroom with the activities that they do outside of the classroom. And it really cements the learning for us. So it's a fantastic approach, I think, and it's one that we're very proud of at UWC.
Great. I think we'll end it right here. And again, if we didn't get to your question, please always contact us at the email address that is displayed now.
And yeah, so maybe I can say thank you to Sarah and to Izzat.
And thank you to you.
And also to our technical crew in the background who've made this possible. So thank you very much. But most of all, thank you for joining us
For your questions.
for the past hour or so, for your questions and for your comments. And yeah, goodbye. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.